I, 29 male, I'm a software engineer in the Bay Area. For the last 2 years, I thought I had it all figured out. I had a great job at a mid-sized fintech company, a nice apartment with a view of the city, and a girlfriend. Let's call her Sarah, who was stunning. Sarah worked in PR and was obsessed with appearances. I'm talking about a curated Instagram grid. Only go to seen and be seen restaurants, and constantly comparing our lives to her friends' lives. Looking back, the dynamic was pretty clear. I provided the funding and stability, and she provided the social status and the arm candy. I loved her, or at least I thought I did, so I ignored the red flags. I ignored how she'd sulk if I didn't upgrade our flights, or how she makes subtle digs about my boring Camry when her friends' boyfriends drove Porsches. 2 months ago, the hammer dropped. My company got acquired by a larger conglomerate. Rumors have been flying around for weeks, but on a Tuesday morning, I got pulled into a generic Zoom call with HR and a manager I'd never met. They read from a script. Position eliminated. Effective immediately. Now, here's the crucial piece of information that Sarah didn't know, because she never bothered to ask about the specifics of my career or my contracts. I was a founding engineer at this startup. My contract had a very specific change in control clause. This meant that if I was let go due to an acquisition, my stock options vested immediately, and I was entitled to a massive severance package. Between the stock payout and the severance, I was walking away with a lump sum of just over $200,000 after taxes. Even better, I had seen the writing on the wall weeks prior. I had been interviewing quietly and had already signed an offer letter with competitor. My new base salary was 30% higher, and I had a hefty signing bonus. Technically, I was unemployed for exactly 4 days before my new start date. I walked out of that Zoom call feeling invincible. I was literally richer than I had ever been. My first instinct was to call Sarah. I wanted to celebrate. I wanted to tell her we could finally put a down payment on that house she wouldn't shut up about. But then a nasty little thought crept into my head. Sarah had been distant lately. She had been working late a lot, and whenever I tried to talk about the stress of the acquisition, she would roll her eyes and tell me to stop being so negative. I decided to run a test. It was petty, maybe a little insecure, but I needed to know if she was in this for me or for the lifestyle I provided. I called her in the middle of the day. I pitched my voice to sound completely defeated. I told her, "Babe, it happened. They laid me off. I don't have a job." I waited for the "Are you okay?" or "We'll figure this out." Instead, there was a long, cold silence. Then she let out a sharp, annoyed sigh. "So you're unemployed?" Just like that. I told her yes, and that I didn't know what the next few months would look like. I said we might need to cut back on expenses for a bit while I looked for something new. She didn't offer a single word of comfort. She just said, "I can't talk right now. I'm in a meeting," and hung up on me. I sat on my couch, staring at the phone, feeling a cold knot in my stomach. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed. It wasn't a call. It was a text that I have now framed in my mind forever. It read, "I've been thinking about us. This isn't working. I need security and a man who is going somewhere. I can't date an unemployed loser who can't keep his career together. My brother is coming to get my things. Don't be there." The brutality of it was breathtaking. Unemployed loser. 2 years of dinners, vacations, meeting her parents, supporting her while she switched agencies. All erased in 2 hours because she thought the cash flow had stopped. I didn't fight it. I didn't beg. And crucially, I didn't tell her about the money. I just replied with one word. "Okay." I packed her stuff into boxes before her brother arrived. I left him in the hallway and went to a bar down the street. I ordered a bourbon and watched my banking app update as the wire transfer from the acquisition hit my account. $212,000. I was rich, employed, and single. The next day, the picture got clearer and darker. I logged into our shared laptop to change some passwords and realized her iMessage was still synced. She hadn't just dumped me. She had been lining up a replacement. I saw messages to a guy listed as Finance Mark. The messages dated back 3 weeks. She was telling him how boring I was, and how she was just waiting for the right time to leave. On the day of the layoff, she texted Mark. He lost his job. It's a sign. I'm doing it today. Pick me up tonight? She didn't leave because I failed. She left because she thought the ship was sinking and she wanted to hop onto a yacht. Mark apparently worked in venture capital and drove a G-Wagon. She thought she was trading up. The entitlement didn't stop there. 3 days after the breakup, I got a notification from my credit card company. A decline charge for $4,500 at a luxury handbag store. She was an authorized user on one of my cards, a mistake I made early on to help her credit score. She had tried to buy herself a breakup gift on my dime. I had already canceled the card the minute I read her text. She texted me 5 minutes after the decline. Seriously? You cut the card? I needed that for moving expenses. You owe me that for wasting 2 years of my life. I didn't reply. I just screenshotted it. I started my new job the following Monday. The title was Senior Staff Engineer. The work was great. The team was brilliant. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel the pressure to perform for someone else's approval. I kept a low profile. I didn't update LinkedIn. I didn't post on social media. I wanted to disappear from her radar. I heard through the grapevine that things weren't going great in paradise. A mutual friend, Dave, told me that Finance Mark wasn't exactly the sugar daddy Sarah expected. Mark was known in the circle as being incredibly cheap despite his flashiness. Apparently, he told Sarah she could crash at his place for a few weeks, but if she stayed longer, she'd need to pay rent. 6 weeks passed. I was thriving. My bank account was growing, and I decided it was time to treat myself. My old Camry was fine, but I wanted a symbol of this new chapter. I bought a brand new, fully loaded SUV. Matte gray, blackout rims, the absolute works. It was expensive, unnecessary, and absolutely beautiful. I drove it to a friend's rooftop birthday party. I knew Sarah wouldn't be there because our friend group had largely sided with me after hearing how she dumped me the day I got fired. But social media is a surveillance state. Someone posted a story of me leaning against a new car. Sarah saw it. I felt my phone buzz in my pocket during the party. It was her. I saw her doing well. The new car looks amazing. I ignored it. 10 minutes later, another text. Mark is a psychopath. He kicked me out because I wouldn't do his laundry. I'm staying at a motel. Still ignored. Then came the closer. I've been doing a lot of thinking. I realized I panicked that day. I was scared for us, and I lashed out. I believe in second chances. Do you? The audacity was staggering. She wasn't sorry. She was homeless, realized Mark was a dud, and saw that her unemployed loser ex was actually doing better than ever. She wanted to come back to the safety of my wallet. I showed the text to my friend Dave. He told me to block her, but I was angry. I wanted her to feel a fraction of the humiliation I felt when she called me a loser. I texted back. Everyone deserves a chance to explain themselves. Meet me for dinner? Friday at 8. She replied instantly. OMG, yes. Thank you. I promise I'll make it up to you. Where? I picked the Ocean Club. It's the most expensive seafood place in the city. It was the kind of place she always begged to go to, but we saved for special occasions. I told her to dress nice. Friday rolled around, and I showed up 15 minutes late. I walked in and saw her sitting at a booth, wearing a dress I had bought her for her birthday. She looked tired. The shiny, perfect veneer was cracking. When she saw me, she tried to give me a hug, but I sidestepped it and sat down. Hello, Sarah, I said. She sat down, looking nervous. You look incredible, she said. The suit, the car out front. I heard you got a new job. I did, I said, picking up the menu, ordering. She didn't hold back. She ordered the lobster thermidor, oysters for the table, and a bottle of vintage champagne. She was falling right back into the routine, spending my money to make herself feel better. As we ate, she launched into her speech. It was a masterclass in gaslighting. She grabbed my hand across the table. I pulled away to drink my water and gave me the teary eyes. I was just so stressed, she said. My parents were pressuring me. And when you said you lost your job, I just snapped. I didn't mean any of it. Mark was just a friend who offered a place to stay. I missed you the whole time. I let her talk. I let her dig the hole deeper. I let her finish the lobster. I let her drink 3 glasses of champagne. Then I cleared my throat. There are a few things you should know, I said. She smiled. Thinking this was a moment, I asked her to move back in. First, I said, I didn't just get a new job. When I told you I was laid off, I had already signed a contract for this position. And the layoff? It came with a $200,000 severance package. That money hit my account the afternoon you moved out. The color drained from her face faster than I've ever seen. What? She whispered. I was flush with cash the second you sent that text calling me a loser. I continued. I wanted to surprise you. I was actually going to propose that weekend. That was a lie, but I wanted it to sting. She looked like she was going to be sick. You were going to propose? Yes, but then you showed me who you really are. I pulled out my phone and opened the screenshots of her text to Mark. And about Mark being just a friend, I saw the messages. Sarah, he's so boring. I'm waiting for the right time. You were cheating on me, emotionally if not physically, long before I lost my job. She started to stammer. That was out of context. I was confused. No, I said, my voice ice cold. You weren't confused. You were calculating. You just did the math wrong. I signaled the waiter. Check, please. She looked relieved, thinking the scolding was over and we could move on. Look, we can work past this, she said. I forgive you for hiding the money. We can start over. I laughed. It was a harsh sound. You forgive me? That's rich. Sarah, you're not moving back in. I had the locks changed the day after you left. The waiter arrived with the bill. It was massive. Split checks. I said clearly, I'm paying for my steak and the mineral water. The lady is paying for the lobster, the oysters, and the champagne. Sarah's eyes went wide. I can't pay for this, she hissed. My card is maxed out. You know that. I do know that, I said, standing up and buttoning my jacket. Because you tried to commit credit card fraud on my account after you dumped me. Be glad I didn't file a police report. I looked down at her. I don't date people who try to leverage my bank account against my self-worth. And I certainly don't date unemployed losers. You can't leave me here, she practically shouted, causing people to turn and stare. I can't pay this. I shrugged. Call Mark. Maybe he'll Venmo you. I walked out of the restaurant, got into my car, and drove away. I didn't look back, but I could hear her arguing with the waiter as the door closed behind me. The fallout was messy. She blew up my phone for 3 hours until I finally blocked her number. Then the email started. First, she begged. Then she tried to bargain, claiming she left valuable jewelry at my place she hadn't. Then the entitlement reached its absolute peak. 2 days later, I received an email from a random Gmail account claiming to be a legal representative. It was poorly written, full of typos, threatening to sue me for palimony and promissory estoppel. The email claimed that because she supported my career, she was entitled to 50% of my severance package, or $100,000. I forwarded it to a buddy of mine, who is an actual lawyer. He laughed so hard he choked on his coffee. He explained that in California, palimony isn't really a thing unless there is a specific written contract, which obviously didn't exist. He sent a formal response on his firm's letterhead. It was brief and brutal. It stated that there was no contract, that her claims were frivolous, and that her attempted use of my credit card constituted attempted theft. He noted that any further contact would be considered harassment, and we would seek a restraining order. She went silent after that. But I wasn't done securing my reputation. I knew she would try to spin this to our mutual friends, claiming I was abusive or that I abandoned her. So I took the screenshot of her "I can't date an unemployed loser" text and the screenshot of the bank transfer timestamp showing I had the money the same day. I posted them to our group chat, the one with all the mutual friends she cared about. I added a simple caption, just to clear up the rumors about why we ended. I'm glad I found out her price tag was a job title before I bought a ring. The social exile was swift. In our circle, people can tolerate a lot, but they hate a gold digger who fails the dig. She stopped getting invites. People left her on read. Last I heard, she had to move back to her hometown in Ohio to live with her parents. She's working the front desk at a dental office now. No finance mark, no PR career, no penthouse views. Just the consequences of her own cold calculus. I'm still single, and honestly, I'm enjoying it. I'm wary now, for sure. I date, but I keep the financial details very vague until I know who I'm dealing with. I drive my nice car. I crush it at my new job, and I sleep soundly in an apartment that no one is trying to steal from me. The moral of the story? Money reveals character, but the lack of money reveals it even faster. If you're going to try to bury someone because they're down, you better make sure they're actually dead first. Otherwise, they might just climb out of the grave and bury you with the dirt you threw on them.